I'm so nobody talks.
No swearing.
Joby, has Viv gotten any accolades for her performance in the video
No,
from others?
no.
That was very cute.
Shoulder shake was the best.
What's
Yeah.
interesting is the boys this goes to Rogers Flintstone, but for an 8-year-old. The boys are training pretty hard on the slide board, and I tried to train Viv the exact same way, technique, and it didn't work. And finally I said, all right, you get to pick 3 songs and just slide board to your favorite 3 songs. She dances more than slides, but she's sliding, right? So that's kind of the approach with her. Yeah, so her wiggles and her shakes, that's what she's all about.
It's awesome.
It was way better than the boys.
That's right. That's right.
Cut them right out.
Yeah.
Joby, how do you describe that? So creepy to get away with it.
I don't think that's creepy.
The wiggles and the shakes. While we're waiting, Steve, can you explain how you put that knot together on that suit picture?
That's the old double Windsor.
Double, that's
Barry
a cool
Melrose.
movie, I think.
Barry Melrose.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to grow the mullet out too. While we're waiting, my truck was stolen on Thursday.
No way.
First time ever having something stolen. Oh yeah. Fucking walking to and from the grocery store now. Living the quarantine dream.
Welcome to
That's
the lower
pretty,
40.
Steve. I've had 2 friends in Denver have trucks get stolen, and one of them got another one stolen after that. Truck, I guess it's very common in Denver to have trucks stolen. I don't really know why, but you're not alone.
Because it's
What kind
only
of truck
car
was
key.
it?
More
Only
thieves.
2020.
Did
It was
you
like
leave
my
the
first
keys
real
in it?
vehicle. No, they had the fucking wires cut on the security camera on the in the complex that we live in and all kinds of shit. So, and I had sent my brother some AirPods too, like right before this, and someone in the mailroom in Denver slit open the package, took the AirPods out, and then just the empty package was delivered. So
I heard the Swedish Mafia is really heavy in Denver right now.
yeah, must be. I don't know if it's just people.
Morning, Anders and Anders.
Good morning, morning.
Morning. We were just talking about the Swedish Mafia. Well, there's great concern about the Lundberg guy and his leg with our group.
Really?
Yeah.
My leg is fine. It's just faking. Yeah.
He's faking.
Just
see
want
you
someone
guys
to
are-
feel sorry for him. Yeah.
he has a trend of doing that. I don't know if you heard.
I know.
I see you guys are practicing the Swedish social distancing that we've heard a lot about over here in North America.
Yeah, exactly. Half an arm length.
How's it going over there? In all seriousness, with the virus, what's the situation now for you guys?
We work from home most of the time. At the office, it's quite a few people. It's never empty, but I believe that most of our staff is working from home and have done that for the last 6 or 7 weeks. And the society, I mean, it's quite a normal situation where the stores are open and all the we're trying to the schools are open, all of that. So we have, I think our government has used that strategy to be quite. They talk a lot about why we should to keep social distancing and what's important, and then it's up to each municipality and each community to figure out how they will do it. So it's almost normal a life, but I think people take a lot of own responsibility not to travel and not to go to work and not to be too close to people.
Mm-hmm. How about schools?
Schools are open as usual from at least up to grade 9. The gymnasiums are closed, so they are having all their education on distance.
And how about youth sports?
We have canceled it all. Our government says it's up till the age of 18. It's okay to have practices, but no games. And they have some rules how the practices are organized.
Interesting. We're going through that right now. With, I think we have 10 states now that have reopened. And so, for instance, in Colorado here, our office will reopen next week, but no more than 50% of the people are allowed to be in the office at any one time. Some of the ice rinks are starting to reopen, but there's a lot of questions as to what's best practices and what we should do with, you know, should we use locker rooms? Should we not use locker rooms? You know, what kind of, yeah, what kind of
There's a lot of questions about summer hockey schools and summer camps. How we'll do that, and we need to make some decision quite soon to tell the clubs how they will act. For many clubs, it's quite a big income to have those schools during summer, of course. So, and they want us to if we say no to them, they would like that we do that, so they don't have to do it themselves.
Yeah. So they'd like you to give them some money, or
no?
Lose?
They would just to have someone to blame, I guess.
Oh, to make the decision that it's no, it's closed, that they can't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. They want to be able to deliver the good positive notes, but it's the federation's fault when it's negative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had the same thing. So I think, you know, have you met everybody that's on our staff here, on our hockey department staff?
Not all of you guys, but
We have our ADM regional managers. You guys want to all raise your hand? The people that work in the ADM program. And then we have Steve Thompson. I don't know if you've met him. He's the guy out for a walk because he was just telling us that his truck got stolen recently in Denver. So he has to walk to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And then we have our coaching department people that are on. You guys want to raise your hand there? Mark Tabram, Brent, and Dave. And then a couple other people from our hockey department here. So we've been doing 4 webinars a week that have been open to the public, kind of coaching, trying to keep our coaching people out in the field, our volunteers engaged with different topics every week, driven by our coaching department and guests that have been suggested and supported by our regional managers. And 1 day a week at least has always been goaltending. And we had safety. We had a doc on yesterday. We have somebody on later today on LTAD and early sports specialization. And so those have been pretty well attended during this time, as you can imagine, with people on lockdown and not a lot of hockey going on. And then what we've tried to do is also our staff that you see here has been on the call. We've had a Monday call and a Wednesday call where it's just our group trying to talk hockey and get everybody together, because we're spread out across the country here, from east to west, north to south. So we've tried to have some hockey talk and bring in some people that we could share ideas with and just have kind of, good flowing exchange of hockey ideas and some new ideas, and catch some people up on things that are going on. And so I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us and lay out. I know some of us have, for instance, Kristen and I saw the presentation in Lausanne. I don't know if it's changed. I know you guys had a board meeting between then and I think now, as to actually putting this stuff into legislation or playing rules, or however you guys define it. So I appreciate Heather reaching out to you guys and Ken, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time, especially with the time difference, to join us and kind of explain to our hockey department as to what the plans are for Swedish Ice Hockey Federation as a result of the research that you've done. I know it's been a long, ongoing project for you guys for a couple of years. And so we're excited to have that conversation with you guys today. So with that, Heather, I don't know what the plan is as far as facilitating this, or on or squared, whatever you guys had planned.
I think we had talked about they're just going to take a few minutes and talk about what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and then we can have a discussion afterwards of questions that we have. Does that sound good, Anders?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many slides I have, but we talked about approximately 30 minutes presentation, and then we have discussions from the questions that you guys have. I don't know if it's going to take 30 minutes, but we have to start somewhere. And yeah. But I think I'm going to start to share my screen here. So we got it all.
While you're doing that, did you guys buy stock in Zoom before the virus?
Unfortunately not. So, as I said, we're going to talk a little bit for a start to put this project around the game formats in some bigger context. And then we're going to talk about why we've done this, why we're doing this, what we have done the last year, and what we see are coming ahead, more on how we're going to play hockey in the future. And then at the end, we're going to show you how we right now look at the game regulations and the rules. We're quite happy that we have taken the rule book down from, I guess we have like 265 different rules down to 7. So it will be easier for the coaches and the players and the referees to manage games, actually in the youth, kids and youth hockey. I don't know how many of you listened to Marcus Åkerblom the other day that you had a webinar with. He talked a little bit about our new development model that we've called the home field model, or hemmaplansmodellen in Swedish. And we have done a lot of research, not ourselves, but we used researchers to find out how our development model would look like. We have looked into LTAD, of course. We have looked into a bunch of others. We had a lot of discussions with Jean Coté early on, and we I don't know after how many meetings and after how many months we decided as to put up some kind of intention for our work, and it is to make it easy for all the people that are involved in Swedish ice hockey to do the right things, actually. So therefore we didn't go with an LTAD model because it's kind of complicated. We ended up in four principles, 4 guiding principles for our coaches, our parents, our clubs, and our players. And I'm going to just quickly show you those. But before I do that, I'm going to show this picture. That's how we are thinking about hockey education, or what should we call it, Anders? Hockey actions. That we would like to have a player-centered approach.
That's most important thing, I believe. Players. How do we help the players grow as hockey players and as human beings?
We can't, hey guys, we can't really hear Lundberg.
Oh, sorry. The most important thing about this model is that we are really strict about it to be a player-centered model. It's about the player to grow the player as a person and as a hockey player. That's the most important part. So that's why the player is in the center of the field.
Exactly, and this four circles where we have hockey skills, hockey sense, physical skills, and psychosocial skills actually are that we have talked a lot about hockey actions, and that all of those components are active in every hockey action actually, and that's a way that we try to look at player development and player education, that we need to get our coaches to understand that not only focus on skills or only focus on the physics, but you need to look at the kind of have a holistic approach in every hockey action. Because if you not are brave enough to get into the corners, you probably won't solve the problem as good as you should if you have the courage to go in there. Just to put one example on. We have talked a lot about the importance of creating club environments that can develop players no matter of where they are at in their journey as a hockey player. So we all agree that the word talent is quite complicated. We can have quite a few hours meeting just to talk about how we will define talent. But for sure, I mean, the DNA and the environment that you grew up in are one component, and the environment that they put the individual in is another component. And you can't really do anything about the DNA, but the environment you can have, you can work with every hour, every day. So we say that of course there are talent in individuals, but there are also talent in environments. So our home field model is to create possibilities for all our around 300 clubs to be really good talent development environments. So that's what we're aiming at. We're not there yet, of course. There are big differences between those are the best and those are the least best. But we think with this approach we will get it better in more and more clubs over the time. So those four principles that I talked about, I'm just going to briefly go through this, and we can send you these presentations if you like. But Anders said we work a lot about the person-centered approach, and here we talk a lot about the leadership and the coaches, how they are towards the players, and see the human being behind the player, and that's really important. We're going to, when we now also work with our new coaching education program, we're going to talk a lot about the transformational coaching theory to be better at see the whole person. Second principle is probably the hardest one. It is to make it possible for every player to develop, no matter where he or she is at the time. And there will once again have the debate or the discussion around the word talent. What is talent? So this one is important and is hard, especially in sports, I believe, because you have this short-term perspective to win games and win tournaments and everything, but you need to look at in the longer run what you are actually set to do. So therefore, you need to understand that development is not linear. You need to wait to do the selections as long as possible. And here we have a debate right now should we be strict to say to our clubs that it's not okay to select players before the age of 15 or 16. I think somewhere there should it be. Compliment anything?
I mean, at some point we will do the selections, but when do you hear me? Yeah. At some point, you need to do the selections. I mean, 'cause we want to be on the top elite, so we will need to do selections at some point. But as longer as you can stop the selections, I think we will help the game to grow. I don't think it will be. I don't think our elite top players will decrease from that at all. I think the players also, if they play with players where not all is in the top or really good players, they need to work on other stuff as well, and not only the hockey. And I think that will improve them as players as well. So, I mean, the whole development, like we all know, it's so complex. It's so complex. It's not like we can give them a recipe and this is how you do it. It's all individual. It's so complex. But for us to build a system that we believe in that will help as many players as possible, I think it's really important for us because we're not the big country. We have 65,000 licensed players, both women, both men, kids, the seniors, everyone. It's 65,000. So we really need to be sure that we help the game grow as well. And I think, to be honest, that's one of our keys for success. That we have so many draft picks, for instance, that we have we have won 3 gold medals the last 6 years in the men's world championship. That we don't do the selections so early.
And I think one key factor in the future is that once we have enough of really good environments who can develop players, I think the parents and the players themselves also will feel more secure to stay in the club that you started in 1 or 2 more years. You don't need to hurry to go to the big clubs. I think this will grow our population and hopefully also develop even better players. But this one is hard. We should have a chat with some of you guys around this topic, especially at some time as well. Third principle is appropriate settings, and here's where the game format comes in. So I'm not going to say so much about that right now. The fourth principle is about fundamental movement skills. We talk a lot about multi-sport participation. We talk a lot about physical literacy. So those 4, human-centered approach, give everyone the chance to develop, appropriate settings, and fundamental movement skills. All the 4 major basic principles that we are building a lot of communication through. It's going to be the platform in our new coach education. So that are key factors in this development model. So if we then move on to what we really are here to talk about is the project that we worked on, as Kevin said, for almost 2 years now, 1.5 years, where we have tried to figure out which is the best way to play hockey from U14 down to U8. And I should just say some words of why we're doing this. We started it, as I said, almost 1.5 years ago, but we had a decision at our General Assembly in June 2019, where they said that we should create national principles to optimize player development up to the age of 16, and that we have talked a lot about what this means, what are the national principles, how do we optimize player development, and one big part of this assignment is the game formats. How will we play hockey to make sure that the players' learning, the players' development, and the players' joy are at its maximum. So that's what we have had for our eyes when we have worked through this. And it connects, as I said, in our home field model to the third principle, appropriate settings. And here are just some words that we have worked with during this journey. We knew that we had to adjust the rules and regulations. And I'm going to end this presentation to show you what we have done so far. We needed to make it clear that the children are not mini adults. And if we agree on that, they should not play like adults, not at the practice nor in the games. Because we believe in that the coaches, they're going to coach the system no matter what. So if we can change the structure on how we play, the coach is going to behave in that direction. So that's a strong belief that we have. We think that it's important to compete. We really talk a lot about how important the competition are, but we talk about competition in each hockey action actually. That you need to compete on every inch of the rink. It's not the competition system. I sometimes meet people who can't really differ between the statistics and the trophies and the behavior on the ice when you talk about competition. So the competition is a process. The result is an outcome. We will focus on the process. In this project, we have 4 sub-projects, you could call it. One is about the rules and regulation, which includes the sizes of the surface, how we will use referee or game leaders, as we also call them. We have one part that is about education and coach development, information to parents and all of that. We have quite a big debate also about goalies and the size of the nets. I think we can say something about that right now, actually.
Some of you have talked to our goalie-in-chief guy, Thomas Magnusson, who's always been, from a goalie perspective, he really talks about not play with the smaller nets because he believes that from early ages, the goalie, he needs to work on his skating. He needs to work on his hand-eye coordination. With the smaller nets, it's much easier for the goalies to find the tactical part of being a goalie. And also in Sweden, we don't have the problem with that we don't have any goalies. We have too many goalies. So even though if some players don't feel like it's fun to stay in net and want to play out instead, that's not a problem for us. So we can actually see that the goalies who continue playing, even though they get scored on a lot in the early ages, it actually helps our goalies. But we try to also now with the new game format, we say that do we need to have every single game with the same nets? There are 8-year-old kids playing hockey. Does everything need to be the same all the time? Could we play with smaller nets sometimes? Could we play with the bigger nets sometimes? Why do we need to make everything so strict all the time? It's kids playing hockey. So that's kind of where we're debating right now. Do we need to put the senior hockey perspective in it, that it should be all the same all the time, or can we actually have the development in front of us when we make the decisions?
Exactly, and then we have one small part about the facilities where we have done quite a big job around barriers or puck stoppers or boards or whatever we should call it, that we hopefully will be able to help our clubs to buy those, so we have them out there in September, October when the season starts. I can send you some pictures of how they look, but they are nothing extremely revolutionary.
With the foam
Yeah,
borders.
exactly. The foam borders.
Yeah, foam.
Yeah.
So it's
Can you
easy.
say that again?
Foam.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's easy for them to handle the boards. It's not the big ones like we had in the Youth Olympics.
yeah.
Because it's so hard to handle. So it need to be practical, easy to use, and those kind of stuff. Yeah.
We're going to buy 100 meters will cost each club approximately $550. Or 5,500 actually. Wrong on me. 5,500. Okay, what have we done so far? Of course, we did quite a lot of work on external analysis and looked into both different sports in Sweden: basketball, floorball, soccer, and we looked into what you guys done, what Canada have done, what Finland's done, and we also visited the Netherlands Soccer Association, who I really recommend you guys to steal from. They have done some tremendous work on some stuff. So that's been one big part from us, and it's a lot easier to not be the first one out. Both Swedish basketball, Swedish floorball, Swedish soccer has done this journey that we are on right now. So we have some help from them, and we can learn from their mistakes. Of course, we also looked into what happened in Lausanne during the Youth Olympics, and Anders were there as one of the team managers, and quite a lot from the rules that they used down there.
Yeah.
That we have taken into consideration.
Karen and Chris, you know. So with all the discussions regarding the rules in the Youth Olympics that we had as coaches, how they complicated things all the time instead of making it easy and get the kids involved and play hockey. So that's the biggest thing that I brought with me home. And also since we had Joel with the referee side in the Youth Olympics, he had his perspective as well. So it was really useful for us when we started talking about the rules.
Exactly, and of course we looked into a lot of science and research. I don't know how many reports we have read. It's not that much done on ice hockey, but a lot of things done in other sports that have been useful for us. I don't need to go through all of this, but we have. I think we have managed to pick up most of the stuff that are out there, so we feel quite safe about that. And then the big work that we have done, we'll come back to this one in a second. The big part that we've done is to measure different game formats. We have done it now we have done them 4 places. We've measured games for kids, both boys and girls, U14, U12, U10, and U8, and they have played 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. On 4 different surfaces, full ice, 1/3, 1/4, and 1/6 part of the ice, and we filmed it, and we had GPS on them, and we worked with Instat to help us pick out every hockey action, to compare the different game formats and the difference between how many players we have had on ice. And we had some focus players that actually played all the surfaces and all the 3-on-3, 4-on-4, and 5-on-5, so we could compare their actions between those surfaces and those numbers of players. So we have a lot of data, and this is how it looks when it goes to 1/4 and 1/6 of the ice. I think when we created this 1/6 picture, we thought it would be possible to actually play on six places during the same time, but now we have changed that, and we were going to play 1/6 for the youngest, but only on four different surfaces. So we leave the middle empty for the players to be when they're waiting for the next shift. Come back to that. See if this will work. Put this on at the same time, both of them. Just so you see how. So you see they have those different colors on the helmets. That those are the focus players that we looked deeper into when it comes to their hockey actions, and we choose them just by pointing them out, and they all had no different skills or anything. They were just I don't know what's lumpen in English. You just pick them. Yeah. Then we have 1/3 and full ice as well. I did the same thing here with the same focus players, so we could compare their actions. So we have a lot of data. I go back to this slide where we talked about our philosophy.
Yeah, but before I do that, like you saw on the video clips, one thing that we also have done is to just visually look at the game. What does the game look like? What are the players doing? So it's not all about the data. I mean, the data could show one thing, but what does it really look like? So that's also one part about with the analysis that we did. But the philosophy, like it says on the screen, the problem solver. We want players to solve problems on the ice. We don't want to create robots. We want to have players who sees the ice, who has the toolbox and know how and when he uses his tools. That's what we want to do. And I think you guys and we in Sweden have kind of the same philosophy. Been talking a lot with you, Kevin, and how you guys are thinking about developing players. So I think it's kind of similar how we look at it. But the decision making for us is something that is really, really important. And I think it's going to be even more important if we look into future hockey. The players who can make the right decisions in a high speed, it's going to be really effective hockey players in the future. I think the game is not going to go slower for sure. It's going to go even faster. But to be able to see the ice, have the toolbox, and make the right decisions on the ice, that's what we're going for. And we think that this new game format will help the players with that.
Before slides I showed you, and as I said, we took help from Instat when it came to look at the actions, and we had a total of 15 actions, I believe. Well, it's just how it looked when we had the GPS on them, and we had also at some of them we had pulse meters, so we could see how that affected, what effect that had in different surfaces as well. So we have a lot of data. We also worked with Catapult, who is, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a system that helped us with tracking of the players, how far they skated and fast they skated, and all of that. So we get some kind of, I don't know the word, belastning. The player load, of course. So we have a lot of data. We worked with some of the universities, the sports high school here in Stockholm and the university in Gothenburg as well, who helped us analyze the data, because we chose that to give that to an external part, so that no one can say that we have done it and faked it. I'm not going to go into this that deep. We can, as I said, send you all of this, but the red squares are the lowest numbers and the green squares are the highest numbers. And when we have made a decision, we have looked, as Anders said, partly on the amount of actions per individual per player, but we have also looked at the flow of the game. Does it look as we would like it to look? So we have this for U8, U10, U12, U14, and also divide it down to, as you see at the bottom here, action per player. And what is interesting, it's quite logic. I mean, if you have fewer players on a smaller surface, the amount of actions goes up, but the player load goes down. So you always all the time need to work with both the actions and the player load when it comes to skating and the pulse and all of that. So that's what we have had in mind as well.
Anders,
yep.
Can you explain the player load, just what that means to you guys?
To make it simple, how physical tough it is for the players. How physically hard is it for them to play?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to move this forward because these are just examples, and we can send this for you if you like to look at it closer. I'm going to put up this picture here. So what we can see when we put all the data together is that the same here. The green ones are the highest numbers and the red ones are the lowest numbers. So full ice is not the best way to play, obviously, when it comes to the amount of actions per player. We can also see the 3-on-3 are by far the best part to do this. And when we looked into the flow of the games, we have seen that when we play 3-on-3, all of the players, no matter how good they are involved in the game. So even if you are a player that are behind the others in your development at the time, you will be involved. You will have some shots and some actions. As soon as you go up and play 4-on-4, that player that are not that good becomes isolated and have zero actions. So that's why we have chosen to play 3-on-3 all the way up to U12, as I can show you in a moment. So this is clear conclusion. You will say something about the Czech Act.
Yeah, like Dr. Perich. Otherwise, it's just not good.
Exactly. So that's what we're doing, what we have done. And what we will do right now, that for the next season, we have in Sweden 22 different districts. 7 of them have been pointed out at pilots for the next season and are doing this full scale. And we're going to use the next season to follow up on how things work, and we need to be humble enough to make changes if we're not doing the perfect things. But from the season 21-22, we will have one way to play hockey in Sweden, not as it has been up till today, that they play in 22 different ways, where the districts have autonomy when it comes to decide on this. And that's actually what we got to the General Assembly to provide these national principles. So we play the same way over the whole country. So we're going to try it in 7 different districts. And I'll put this one up first. And these are how we're going to play. We're going to play from U9 and below at 1/6, 3-on-3. U10, U11, 1/4, and U12, 1/3, 3-on-3. And when it comes to U13 and U14, if we just would look at the actions, we would play 3-on-3, 1/3 even there. But sometimes you need to start to play on full ice, and I think that's where we believe we're going to do it. We're going to do it at that age. But we also would like our districts to make it possible for these players to play 3-on-3 on 1/3 a couple of times during the season as well. Because we can see from the data that there are so many good things with that when it comes to player development. And from this, we have worked on a rule book.
Hey, Anders, can I interrupt for a second? Can you go back one slide? On your U12, can you explain that a little bit more? And U13? Yeah.
U12, 1/3, 3-on-3, nothing else. U13, U14, most parts they play 5-on-5, full ice. But a few times during the season, we want them to get the chance to play 1/3, 3-on-3.
Anders, a quick question too. If I missed it, I apologize. What about roster sizes for the teams? Have you guys dipped into that?
Yeah, right now we think like this, that you should probably have 3 lines to play 9. But when you play on 1/3, you can have 3 games going on at the same time. So if you have a roster that are on 25 players, you still can use them all, but they play 3 different games at the same time. Then we haven't decided if we're going to add up the results, or if it's going to be 3 different games. That's one of the parts that we're going to try the next season. But we don't want the result to be a big issue. The most important thing is the players' development. So from U12 and down, we don't have any standings. We don't have any official individual statistics or anything. And we can hear from the parents, why don't you have that? The players, they know it anyway. Yes, they know it anyway. So why should we have it if they know it anyway?
I mean, the big thing about not having standings for us is that a kid at that age, should he or she be what they've done for like 4 months ago, should that matter? Because that's what standings do. What they played for 4 months ago, it matters. But the kids, they live right here, right now. And they know if they won the game, they know if they lost the game, they have total control of that. But we don't think what they did 4 months ago should matter at all. So that's why we don't have the standings.
Hey, Anders, on another point on that, a lot of the clubs that have tried this in our country, they believe in it similar to you guys. The issues and the kickback that they get, a lot of it is parent driven. So for example, the logistics of it, the benches, the locker rooms, the scoreboard, the refs, we can't share a bench. We can share a bench. Coaches can't coach because the other team can hear them. Is that part of the plan as well? And I don't want to jump too far ahead because this stuff's really good, but I was just wanted to throw that in. And I don't know if you guys are going to address that later or right now is a good time.
I would say that's one big difference between our cultures. Because I mean, of course, we have the parents, and they need to play real hockey and all that. But regarding all the practical things, they make it work. It's kind of like the kids. If you put them on the ice and let them do almost whatever, they make it work. And I think our society isn't that. We're pretty open for those kind of stuff, and if we see that this doesn't work, okay, how can we solve it? So we don't see that big of an issue. I think when we talk with districts, when we talk to coaches, when we talk to clubs, they have all come in with ideas on how those kind of stuff could be managed. That's also why we are writing a game manual that we will provide every club, how we see that how they can make it work in an easy way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've seen something that you guys put out that you have like actual like bench areas that are right outside of the playing surface. I don't know if you have that slide where you have like an actual designated bench area, but Joe, they're, at least what I've seen, it's like on the ice, so they're not actually on a physical bench. I don't know if that's correct.
Exactly. Yeah, we can switch to that right now and look into this. What is our rules and regulations for the kids' ice hockey? I hope you see that. The ramverk för barn och ungdomsishockey is what you should see right now. Do you see that, Helen? I was just scroll down here and show you what Heather are talking about. I think this is this picture.
I think we're still on the old slide.
Okay, then I will just stop sharing this and start sharing the new one. No, it was the wrong one. Here we go. So if we look at the playing surfaces, how we're going to try for the next season, these are the when you play on the 1/6 of the game of the surface. Here 1/4, 1/3, full, as you know. But I don't know if was this the picture that you were thinking about?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there we have where you have where the players are between the ships, and we also talked a lot about what should we do with this area that we have in between. Maybe we should put up an obstacle course or something where the players can, if you have three lines, you can play one shift, then you can do the obstacle, and then you can rest. So you don't need to sit on the bench too much, because we want high activity and we want them to have fun. So we're looking into that, how we would do to manage that in practice or practical. But these are our game or rules or regulations for the pilot district the coming season. And I'm just going to show you the part that we have. I can show you actually the 1/4 from U10 and up, U10 11. As I said, we have been able to boil it down to just seven rules with some under rules from each. And one rule is about the teams, and here we have that we play, as we said, with 3 skaters and 1 goalkeeper. I don't know if I should read it through. I think it's easier if we just send it to you, and then I just can talk a little about the big differences when it comes to this.
Yeah, but one thing I can see here on the picture, if the team, if it's not enough goalkeepers, play without goalkeepers, have the smaller nets, have adjusted nets for that. Still make it work. That's the thing. Make it work. It's kids playing hockey. It's about the progress. It's about the development. Make it work. That's the message that we're sending.
And when it comes to what we call game leaders at this age, I mean, we have the referees, but here we would like to have more of game leaders who will manage the game to help the players learn hockey, help them develop. So our experience is that it's easy for the coaches to put a lot of responsibility on the referee how to manage the game. We would really like the coaches to be responsible for the players' behavior and for their own behavior. So the game leaders at this time could be the two coaches from the teams that are playing, so that they in some kind of agreement manage the game and lead the game. Shouldn't be that serious.
Anders, what is Joel's opinion of this? Aren't you going to fall behind on developing referees?
No, the opposite. More people going to try to lead a game, and if the club chooses to use youth players to be game leaders, it will probably benefit the creation of the recruitment of referees in the future as well. So Joel is the guy who's behind all of those rules. So I think we have the referees with us all the way.
And also, if they start managing games like this, they don't need to learn every single rule that there is in the normal rule book. The focus is on game managing, and to be honest, when we don't agree with referees, what do we don't like about the referees? It's the game management. It's not about they don't know the rules, because they all know the rules. So we think the referee development as well will improve by actually focusing on the game management and not about following every single rule.
I like it. No, I knew that. I knew the answer to that. I was joking, but our referee group has actually pushed back and said, "Oh, the kids need to learn, the details of refereeing from the 8U hockey to 10U hockey, that was important, and we were going to lose referees." I agree with Joel, and I agree with you guys and your philosophy on this. I think it's a safer, easier environment for kids to try it and learn how to manage the game.
Yeah. But I think it all comes down to that we need to agree that kids aren't mini adults, and we shouldn't even practice or play the same way. And can we agree on that? I mean, this makes sense. You need to move away from the
traditional thinking.
What's real hockey? I mean, this is probably real hockey. The best way you should play hockey for kids, hopefully. The third rule is about the playing time, and here we have talked quite a lot about the playing time itself, and I'm going to try to just play games that are one period of 50 minutes. Seems short, but the whole point is that I will be playing at least 3 games per day when they come into this mini tournament, or what we should call it. So we won't have any usual linear, what do you call it, Anders? How you not one game every weekend. You might come in every other weekend and play with like a tournament, a mini tournament. So we think that each game, 1 period, 50 minutes will be enough. And if you don't have that many players on each team, every player will get enough playing time as well. And here you have some of the practical things that you need to manage, that you have the same clock used for all the games played and all of that. But as Anders said, we're also putting up this guidelines for the club that are arranging the event as well, so they should know what to do.
And also,
Can't hear you, Anders.
can you hear me now?
That's much better.
Yeah. I said we're really humble that we know that now when the 7 pilot districts will do this for the upcoming season, it will have difficulties. Some stuff won't work, but we're not afraid of trying, and because we need to actually do it to know what we need to improve or change from this game manual that we're putting up. So, and also those 7 districts that are doing it are also aware that they need to come to us with feedback how things are going and what are the difficulties, what is working really good, and those kind of stuff. But sometimes you just need to step over the line and see how it goes, right?
Rip the Band-Aid off, you say.
Yeah, exactly. We have talked a lot about how do we start the game. We're going to start it with a face-off, but during the games we would like to see high activity, not that many stoppages in play. So if we have a goal scored or a blocking of the puck for the goalie, the game lead just put the puck on the drop zones behind the nets, and the defending team will just move towards their own net until the team with the puck starts the play, and then they can move forward once again. So we're not going to try any retreat lines, which we talked about early. When we tried it, it seems like it's easy for the players and the coaches to understand that if a puck is dropped in the zone, you just move towards your own net, and once the team with the puck starts playing, you can move forward once again, and it seems to work quite well. So the reason behind it is that we don't need to have that much stoppage in the play. I come back to this when we have some infraction happening. We're going to work with hunting penalties. Come back with that. But most part, we're going to use the drop zones behind the net. That's what we're going to try. And when it comes to Rule 5, it's about physical contact and how we just pointed down and what are an allowed physical contact and what's an physical contact that's not allowed. And it is here where we're going to need to educate our game leaders on what they will look for. But as I said, there are game leaders, they are not referees, so they need to help the players. But of course, if we have one player who constantly are doing some allowed physical contact, something will happen to him or her. But we have decided not to have personal penalties. So what will happen if someone do something not allowed? It will be just a penalty shot, and we call it a hunting penalty, where the players start from the middle, and the rest of the players starts from the net, and then they can chase him or her. And if he scores, you just put a new puck on the drop zone. And if the goalie saves, the game moves on. So no individual penalties at this age. And we have right now a discussion on should the guy who get tripped, should he or she do the penalty shot, or is it up to the coach to decide? And we haven't exactly decided on that rule yet, but we're discussing it. Yeah, and that's actually the rule 5 or 6 are actually the most important rules when it comes to the usual referee part of the game. But we have managed to just make it down to one rule about physical contact and one rule about what's happened when they're not following the framework. And then the last and 7th rule about the goals. So that's how simple we will try to keep it. And hopefully it will work out well. And hopefully our pilot districts will come up to us and say, hey, this works out quite well. We're going to do work with them during the next season, where we're going to look into 4 different perspectives on where we evaluate how it works. We're going to look, of course, into this rules and regulations and see what worked out well and what needs to be changed. We're going to talk to the clubs who are the ones who arrange the events, and what do they think worked well and what do we need to change. We're going to, of course, talk to our pilot districts who have some kind of macro perspective on it all. What do they believe? And we're going to talk to the players, because that's what it all comes down to. I mean, if they don't have fun, if they don't like it, we should probably not do it. But we are quite sure that they're gonna like it, and hopefully they're gonna like it more and more. In the beginning, they're gonna not be used to it, so it's gonna be something new for them. And we got some comments when we did our measurements that the players said this wasn't as fun to play in the small area because I don't have as much time with the puck that I'm used to. But I think that's exactly what we're aiming for, to get them to be comfortable with not that much time with the puck.
Hey, Anders, can I ask a quick question on that point?
Sure.
Recently, we've been discussing about space and allowing maybe some more time for the kids. There's been discussion that sometimes small space creates one-on-one only type hockey. I think we're still on the same path as you in terms of playing that one-on-one, quick decisions, puck support, that kind of thing. But I was just curious, did you guys go in depth on that discussion or not necessarily?
We discussed it, of course, but when we look at the games, even if there are 3-on-3 on the smallest surface, the tempo is quite slow with the younger ages. So we believe that they have enough time. Of course, when you get up to U12 and play 3-on-3, it's going to be more intense. But hopefully the development up to that age has been so adequate that they can manage to handle a little less time. I don't know if you should say anything about that.
No, but I think for us who also not been playing on the North American size of the rink, who's been playing full ice hockey from under 10, under 8, and we see the behaviors that the players are doing on the ice. If we have a big player who has time with the puck, he just like put his arm around and then he skates with the puck and do whatever he wants. He's not even, he or she isn't interested in playing the puck or playing the game. So for us, this will help us to get the players to play the game. And that's the conclusions that we had when we had the discussions.
Okay, thanks.
We don't actually have that much more to show you. As I said, we are glad to send this over to you, but you can look into it and use it as you want. We will have 1 year now to develop it further and see where we end up at eventually. But I don't know, Heather, should you facilitate if there are any questions or so?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody has questions or if you have to jump off, but I know that Anders would be open to answering them. No, Bob, you had a couple of good questions when you and I talked. Not to throw you on the spot. Gonna have to unmute yourself, bud.
Anders, can you change the screen or unshare?
Sure, yeah.
Just want to see your pretty faces.
Anders, I just had two questions. One was, when you undertook this project, was there something specific about the development of Swedish players that you guys were not happy with that precipitated this direction?
That's a really good question. I don't think we have enough skillful forwards in Swedish hockey. We have solid forwards, but we're not developing those top line scorers. That was one big thing that we discussed.
I'm going to just go a little bit deeper on that, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So when you look at skillful forwards, right, and was there something about their play, right? Like, we've been talking, we've had a lot of webinars, and even last night we had an NHL scout we talked to, and you're talking about style of play of the different countries. Okay, skillful forwards, I think that's a great answer, and I understand, and I've talked to many of your countrymen who kind of said the same thing. But what is that for you guys?
I think what we do in Sweden is that we trying to get everyone in the same style of play. Every player should be, or at least every forward should do everything. They should be good at everything, which leads to that they're just average at everything. So that's what I think. We don't get those really like sharp players who are different, but we have really solid hockey players at who knows most part, but they're not those top players. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think in general, if we were to talk about in generalizations, we would talk about, you might think you're creating a lot of second, third liners, third, fourth liners instead of, right? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Then one other follow-up. Sorry, Raj. If we were to look at the difference in rink, okay, and I'm big about making the surface smaller, but you're dealing with 100 by 200 rinks when we're dealing with 85 by 100. I'm really impressed with the use of space with the Swedish player. Okay. And I am not at all saying more is better. I'm not that guy who wants to say more is better. But did compete level of your players have anything to do with how small you're going on the one end?
Ooh. That's an easy one.
Okay.
It's a really good question. Can you repeat it one more time?
I'm not sure I can.
No, I figured.
Okay, so let me put it another way.
Yeah.
When I talk to some people and they look at Swedish players, one of the things they're concerned about is that one-on-one compete factor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that perhaps just that little bit more ice has given them the ability to use that soft ice more.
Okay.
In a way, that ability of one-on-one compete.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm actually saying that over here in North America, in the US, at times I'm thinking that we're looking to add a little space to maybe draw out of our players that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that's the way to go, okay? I'm just wondering if those were factors, because I heard the other honors use the word compete a number of times, right?
Yeah. Okay. Then now I get it. That's definitely one factor, because we have been talking a lot about the competing level, like Anders said early in the presentation. The competing level. When we talk to Swedish and NHL scouts, when they compare the Swedish players, and when we go with our national teams, that's almost every single time something we talk about. We need to compete more. We need to win more one-on-one battles and those kind of stuff. So that's definitely one part that we think that this smaller surface will improve. But still, it's really important for us in our practices to get the advantage with a bigger rink, to get the advantage to actually have the time to work on the individual skills, to have the time with the puck. So I mean, you can have it all. I don't think you can have it all, but for us, we kind of, with the game, when we play the games, the compete level we wanted to increase, but we still have our practices that we run, and we have the bigger ice, we have the bigger surface. So I think that we could, what we're looking into is to find like the perfect match between them two.
Thank you. And that's kind of why I asked you, right? Because, and Roger and I have had this discussion, and Bill Beanie was on, there are other ways in practice to give the players those different things. But at the end of the day, they're still playing games on weekends.
Yeah.
And in my mind, we have to get that size right. So, all right. Thank you.
Anders, is this an attempt by you guys? I think I heard you say it right out of the chute, but is this an attempt for you guys to make smarter hockey players? Is that the bigger, when you talked about more skilled forwards?
Yeah.
People, when you say skilled, they're thinking hands and feet and big skills. Is this an attempt for you guys to really create more gifted players up top in the brain?
Absolutely. It definitely is. I think if the common, if you look at Swedish players, a lot of them says that they are smart players. They have good game sense and those kind of stuff. But I don't think that we have, especially with our forwards, to be that smart in the high speed that the hockey is going right now. To take the time away during the games, get the players to be more secure and used to not having the time with the puck. I believe that we will improve that part with our player development.
Hey, Anders, forgive me if I missed this answer when you were talking about the seven districts that are moving forward with this. Were they, did they come forward? Did you seek them out? Is there financial incentive? Is there anything that's helping, or why 7 and why them?
We asked all the 22, and we have those 22 are divided in 4 regions. We wanted to have at least one district per region, but they are there on a voluntary basis. They have reached out. We asked them all, 7 came back, and what they get is that they get kind of ahead in line when it comes to the dividers on the boards. We help them out with that during the next season. But on the other hand, they need to help us with the evaluation of the stuff as well.
Thank you.
So they're in it on freebase. I think another thing that we could say when it comes to the last question, I think when it comes down to making better players, I think we should add that we want to get more players that are better. Because when we look into that 3-on-3, 3 versus 3 game formats, as I said, all the players seem to be more involved in the game, and you don't get locked to do special positions. I mean, if you're a forward or defender, it doesn't matter. So all the players need to develop skills on the whole surface that they're playing on. So I think we will see players that are more comfortable when they come to the U13 year to play both forward or defender. And that, I hope that will give us more skilled players, or players with more tools in their box.
Anders, did you guys consider, especially in the 1/6 size ice surface, did you consider 2v2? And then a little bit older, did you consider a progression of 4v4 between at like 13 or 12 or 13 years old at all?
You like?
I can take that one. We had 2-on-2 when we did our first measuring. We measured 2-on-2, but we saw that it ended up not being hockey, to be honest. It wasn't playing a game. It was only like it was nothing, to be honest. So we really quickly moved away from the 2-on-2. But regarding the 4-on-4, that we have been having a lot of discussions with that. But like Anders said earlier, as soon as we put in the fourth player, one of the players will not be involved. It's been so clear when we watch the videos, when we see the data and everything. So that's why we took it away, because we thought before we did the measurings, before we did all of this, we believe that like a 4-on-4 progression would be between each surface. Like under 8 would play 1/6 3-on-3, under 9 play 1/6 4-on-4, and so on. But when we did this, we saw that the fourth players, it doesn't help the game. It doesn't help the players. It's just one player standing, to be honest.
And with
the triangles came so natural. I mean, you get the depth and the width, and that's actually what it's so much hockey is about, to understand that. And I think another perspective on this is we only do this up till U12, and sometimes up to U13, 14. I mean, they are still 12 years old. I mean, they have a lot of years to develop and play 5-on-5 full ice. But I'm sure that we don't need to rush into 5-on-5 full ice. I think we can slow the pace down, let them develop 3-on-3, and I think we will benefit on that. I'm quite sure, but we will be humble enough to look at the facts when we have them. But it would surprise me if we get worse players than we have today. I think this
Was there any discussion about, because you threw out that for U13, U14, some 3v3 1/3 ice. Was there any discussion about setting some goals as to what percentage of the season? And then also, was there discussion about, okay, maybe we should go, if we're 1/3 ice, should we go half ice or 2/3 ice?
Yeah. If you look at our cycles of the game formats, it's all we still have the same what's the name? Yeah, it's still rectangular like the
Triangle.
yeah, no, rectangular, like the normal rink when we
Oh,
play
okay.
full ice hockey.
Versus
So
a
we try
square.
to get the same kind of, what's the name? Help me. We just increase the rink.
Exactly. We don't want to play on
Shape.
square.
Shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still the same shape of the rink. So to play like a square game, like the half ice almost becomes, you have the wrong dimensions. It was the dimensions I was looking for. So that's why a lot of teams or districts in Sweden have played half ice hockey now. And to be honest, and sorry for my language, but it looks like shit when they play. Sorry for the language.
I have another question before that, Kevin. I can't remember what you had.
Oh,
before you
the question about, you mentioned that the U13 and U14 will be encouraged to play some 1/3 ice 3v3. Did you have any recommendations to your pilot programs as to what percentage of their season they should try to play, even with the U13 and U14?
Yeah, for now we just said that we would like to see that they play at least a couple of weekends, and then hopefully they will like it, because I think that's what we see from Swedish soccer when they have done almost the same thing, where they play 3-on-3, 5-on-5, 7-on-7, 9-on-9, and not 11 versus 11 until they are 50 years old. When they put out the small surfaces, the first ones there to play 3-on-3 on really small surface are also the adults or the junior players. So I think it's going to be a fun way to play, and that's what I heard from Lausanne as well, that the players really like the game format. So hopefully we can develop maybe another type of hockey where 3-on-3 on a smaller surface will be as normal as 5-4 ice are today. I think that would benefit us when it comes to growing the game. Some kind of the beach volley of ice hockey or something, because we only have one game format today, and that's what they used to call real hockey then, 5-on-5 full ice. So I think 3-on-3 at the older ages is not that many years away when it's also seen as normal.
Are most of your hockey directors, or your, I don't know the exact term you guys use in Sweden, but your sport director or coaching director within your local clubs, do they have a formal university degree like what we've seen in Finland with the sport institutes?
Big difference between the clubs. Some of them are having degrees, some of them haven't. It's not like it's that you need to have it to have that role. It's not any rules about it or something, but what we see is that we're kind of in a knowledge society at this moment. So we see the younger coaches or whatever, they have a much more positive look to science, to studies, to go to our coaching clinics. They are there. The coaches now, they are there to learn. They are not there to get the diploma, which was the case like 10 years ago. It's a big difference in the mentality from when we see the younger coaches, I think.
Anders, can I take you back to your comment about half ice looking like shit?
Yeah.
Why? What didn't you like about it? And what form were you talking specifically about, a numerical format or all the half ice formats?
I think we have a video that will show it.
We can't hear you.
Okay. Anders is looking for a video to show you guys. But we had, when each district set their own rules how to play, we had districts who played half ice, but they still played cross ice. So Anders will put that clip in here, I think.
Where we have you guys, there you are. I'm gonna share this just to show you how shitty it looks.
But no. Like you see now, they play cross ice, but it's the half ice. And if it's so much space on the ice that no one really uses, they're like flies on the sugar. Look at the red goalie here; he's really involved with the game.
And what age is this?
Yeah, this is U10.
And did you watch it at 12 or 14?
Yeah, when we did our first measurements, we had half ice with the older age groups, but we couldn't see anything that like would benefit the development that they won't have with a 3-on-3 cross ice with the rink that we have there. So for us, it's not anything that we're interested in to run, to be honest, when we did all of our measurements. That's why we don't have those data with us today as well. When we saw the game, when we just threw it away, to be honest.
So I know that you guys have to jump off, I think at 7, which I think is now, but like we could sit here and talk all day long about this stuff. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure that this won't be the last of our questions. So
Yeah, hey guys,
if those guys are interested, so just ask and we will.
Yeah, I want to say thank you very much. You know, we definitely actually already had some discussions behind the scenes, and I've promised your services and presentation to other people. So I apologize in advance. But just curious why you have to run. Is the salmon ready or?
The wine.
In the wine.
I don't think it's salmon, but some food at least. I hope. It's been a long day.
Hey, congratulations on all this work and all this presentation and moving forward. It's very impressive. My phone's been blowing up from the people on this call, and it's really impressive. I think it motivates all of us to keep pushing forward with what we're trying to do. It's always great to have companions and compadres in youth hockey, because I can tell you 15 years ago, nobody gave a shit about talking about youth hockey. And it's fantastic that we've got real quality hockey people and a quality federation like the Swedish Federation that are committed to serving the kids and to making the game better, growing the game, but making it more fun for kids. And it's just, I think I speak for all of our staff that it's super exciting. And we really are honored to have you guys. I consider you guys teammates. I hope you guys see us the same way. And we're trying to do this for the greater good of the sport worldwide. So we really appreciate your openness, your willingness to share, and that's definitely highly appreciated by our staff and all of us. So thank you very much. I can't say that enough.
Thank you for inviting us. It was fun. I hope we can do it once more at least. I think we talked about that before, Kevin, that we were in the same boat here. I mean, hockey is not that huge of a spot globally. So growing the game must be a shared responsibility for all of us. Because I mean, we have only 300 clubs. I mean, Swedish soccer is 10 times more bigger than we are. So
Really?
we have shares to take.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you guys.